and welcome back to Sustainable Teacher. If it is your first time here, my name is Leticia and I'm glad to meet you. And if you've been here before, I'm happy to see you again. In today's video we start a new unit which is nutrition and food, and specifically today we are going to talk about general concepts of nutrition in humans. So if you are interested in this video, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. First of all, sorry for my voice, I'm a bit sick, but I'm always in a schedule to record videos, so if I don't record this week, I will be in a hurry later, so that's the result. I'm recording with this voice. In today's video we will talk about general concepts about nutrition, the function of nutrition in humans, which systems are involved, in which part of the cell these processes really happen, and also about a little bit about energy requirements and metabolism in our body. So let's start. The nutrition function, you already know, is all the processes that we do since we take food and oxygen from outside, we take from there the oxygen and the nutrients, we transport it to the cells, we use it in the cells, and then we expel or excrete the waste, the resulting waste. So there are like four main steps, which is obtaining those nutrients and oxygen, transporting the nutrients and oxygen, doing the processes inside the cell to use this nutrient and oxygen, and removing the waste from the cell after using all these nutrients and oxygen. So as we said in the previous unit, there are some systems that are involved in these processes. Actually, it's 5 for the nutrition function, 5 main systems, which are, of course, the digestive system to absorb all the nutrients from food. Then we have the respiratory system for taking the oxygen in and then out the carbon dioxide. Then we have both circulatory system, the one with the blood, and the one with the lymphatic system. And finally we have the excretory system. Remember that excretory system is related with kidneys and the bladder, so it's for urine. We have more type of excretion in the body, but they don't belong specifically to the excretory system, okay? So that's it for the 5 main systems involved in these 4 main processes. But if we look at a cellular level, in the end what our cells need is energy. The energy will be extracted, will be taken from the nutrients and from the oxygen in a process called metabolism. Sometimes metabolism is a word that we don't use in a specific way. It's like a general word, and we use it in an informal context when we say that person has a really high metabolism. He or she eats a lot and it doesn't gain weight, or he doesn't gain weight, or she doesn't gain weight. Or I have a really low metabolism, so I gain weight easily. But this is not the real definition of metabolism in the cell biology, okay? When we are referring to metabolism in cell biology, we are really referring to all the processes in which energy is involved inside the cell. For instance, we have 2 processes, catabolism and anabolism. Catabolism is for all the processes that will make or will change from bigger, more complex molecule to smaller, more or simpler molecules. For instance, from complex carbohydrates to simpler carbohydrates that we can use to take the energy, okay? On the other side, anabolism is the opposite. So it's changing from more simple simpler, smaller molecules to more complex, bigger molecules. For instance, if we eat too much energy, too much calories with our diet, in our daily intake, we will transform probably those carbohydrates into lipids to store the energy. This change from simple molecules to those more complex molecules to store the energy for a long term is anabolism. When we are using those nutrients, the energy is taken from the chemical bonds that joins the atoms in the molecules, okay? So when we break chemical bonds, we release energy. So when we change from bigger, complex to smaller, simpler, we break the bonds, we release energy. In the opposite case, if we want to change, we want to join smaller molecules to make bigger molecules, we will have to spend energy, to use energy to make those chemical bonds, okay? So this is metabolism, those changes in energy from more complex molecules to simpler molecules, changing in the chemical bonds, releasing the energy or using it to make the bonds, okay? And the process of breaking the molecules inside the body for taking energy is called cellular respiration. So these processes of changing from more complex molecules to simpler molecules is called cellular respiration because it requires the nutrients and it requires the oxygen, and inside the cell specifically it will happen in the mitochondria, inside the mitochondria, okay? That's why we call the mitochondria the powerhouse of the cell, because all the metabolic processes that will release energy for the cell will happen inside the mitochondria. That's why. So if we look closer to this process of the cellular respiration, what happens is the nutrients, mainly glucose, in the end everything will be changed into glucose, okay? So 90% of the cases, all these metabolic pathways will start in glucose. So in the end, the glucose will enter in the mitochondria with the oxygen. Inside in the matrix, so in the inner part of the mitochondria, the inner space, they will do the process of the cellular respiration. In this case, the oxygen combined with the glucose will break the bonds in the glucose and release the energy from the bonds. As a result, we have the energy. We also have some waste. For the glucose, the waste is gonna be water that can be reused somewhere else. It's metabolic water, it is not drinking water, okay? So we can use it to hydrate ourselves. It's for other metabolic processes in the future, and also the carbon dioxide that we will expel in the respiratory system later. Maybe now you are asking yourself, so how much energy can we take from the nutrients from the glucose? It depends on the type of the type of nutrient, and it depends on the origin. If the original molecule was a carbohydrate or a protein, the energy that we will obtain from each grain of carbohydrate or grain of protein is 4 kilocalories. But if we start from a lipid, for 1 grain of lipid we will get 9 kilocalories. If you don't remember, because sometimes kilocalories is like metabolism, it's a term we use commonly, but we don't really know what that means. Actually, 1 calorie is the energy we need to rise 1 Celsius degree the temperature of 1 grain of water. So if we take 1 grain of water and we heat it 1 Celsius degrees, the amount of energy we use for this is 1 calorie, okay? We also can measure calories in joules. It's another measure for energy, the name comes after the surname of the researcher that researched about this type of energy or energy units. And the conversion is that 1 calorie is around approximately 4 joules. Okay, so 1 joule will be a quarter of a calorie. We can also use, actually I told you that for the amounts in the slide above, we talk about kilocalories. So kilo means 1000. So 1 kilocalorie is 1000 calories, and in the same way 1 kilojoule will be 1000 joules. And even if, just a little piece of advice, even if you see lipid give more energy, they are not the main source of energy. They are the second source of energy because it's the storage. Okay, the body is prepared to use first the carbohydrates, the glucose, and then if we run out of carbohydrates, of glucose inside our body, because maybe we are doing physical activity and we are starving, we didn't eat before, we are fasting, and we still keep using our body. If we don't have any more carbohydrates in our body, we will start using the storage of lipids. Usually we stay there, but for some people that live in condition of malnutrition or they starve, they can't access to high quality food, sometimes they will use they consume more energy than they eat. They will start using those lipid storage, and if the lipid storage is finished, they can also use their proteins in the body. But this is not normal, okay? If this happens, probably we will have an illness in a near future, okay? So this shouldn't happen. I'm talking about if we consume more or less calories of expected. This is established in the energy requirements. The energy requirements is like a general formula for humans to establish how much energy do we need daily, okay, on a daily basis. It will depend on our sex, our age, our physical condition, our physical activity, a physical environment. Also, it has different factors that can affect this amount. But in general, we can say that is the addition of three aspects, okay? The basal metabolic rate, that is how much energy we spend if we do nothing, or if we lay in a bed like this for the whole day and we do nothing at all. This is the basic energy we use to just survive. This is the basal metabolic energy rate. There is a formula in the next slide, don't worry. Then we have to add the energy we use for our physical activity, our daily activity, and also we have to take into account the energy we will use to digest the food. So these three concepts, basal metabolic rate, the energy needed for the physical activity, and the energy needed for the digestion of the nutrients, if we add them, we will have a total amount of calories, which is our daily energy requirement. The daily energy calories needed to survive. How can we calculate the basal metabolic rate? It's an old formula from last century, and it was reviewed during the 90s. Okay, it is slightly different for men and women because we have different body constitutions. Okay. We can say for both is we have to multiply our mass measured in kilograms by 10. We also have to add our height measured in centimeters multiplied by 6.25, and we have to subtract our age multiplied by 5. And then if we are men, we add 5. And if we are women, we add 161. This will be our basal metabolic rate. We have to do an adjustment depending on our physical activity. If we don't do any exercise at all, if we don't walk any at all, we always go by car or by bus to places, we are sedentary people, we have to multiply this basal metabolic rate by 1.2. If we have a moderate physical activity, we do some sport during the week, we go to the gym or we go to a sport club, we are in a team, we have to multiply our basal metabolic rate by 1.5. And if we are very sporty people, we should multiply by 1.75. And that's the end of the video. So if you have any doubt, please leave it in a comment, and of course, see you soon.